Hello and welcome to Champions of Inspiration. I'm your host, Scott Schilling, and welcome you. We're going to have a lot of fun here today. Megan Gilbertson owns Support to Thrive. Basically, it's a business resources matchmaking service. This is going to be cool to talk about. They conduct business with financial systems, with other systems, with intellectual resources to support you to do what you do best. In other words, she's the thumb in your back. She just kind of keeps things going. She specializes in what you don't know that you're missing. By a show of hands, how many of you don't know what you don't know? Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll talk about that today too. So let's grow together, building long-term relationships that elevate your business to new heights. Megan, thanks for joining Champions of Inspiration.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. So we met because we had a conversation with a mutual friend and started talking about we do similar yet different things, matching business tools and a variety of different things. Instead of me botching it up, why don't you just share with everybody what you do?
For sure. So yeah, it was really fun connecting with you because there's a lot of similarities and the idea that we don't know what we don't know. And that's kind of the niche that I've been playing in for the past 3 years. So I've been working with financial brokerage for those 3 years, learning all about the different options for businesses in the financial world, whether it's ways to save you money, get you money, or do financing, B2B and B2C. And this past year, I've really branched out to a more holistic approach to business names, Support to Thrive. And I've added in some systems, some ways that we can basically get the same thing done in a much smaller amount of time and increase the impact that businesses have and just the fluidity. So there's some fun systems in there that help do it, whether it's CRM world or podcasting world, recording, stuff like that. And then the intellectual services, I mean, it's partly another one of your specialties with the sales training, business coaching, just those people who've done what you've done and can essentially hold your hand and teach you along the way all of those nuances of business.
Very cool. So, you shared that you put things together, you find out what people are missing, the systems that they're missing, and you approach those systems. Now, the one that we've been talking about the last couple of days is the financial system. And so you've got POS financing and some other things. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the POS for me is in the saving you money category. We've got a great provider that does debit, credit, Amex, whether it's online, in store. But a lot of the providers like Square and Stripe, their rates are more in the 2.9 level, whereas we can come in at the 2.1 level. So it's really fun just telling people that that's an option. Also, other pluses like it's next day deposits and it's international. So if businesses have stores anywhere in the world, we can help connect those stores in one hub instead of multiple. So it's just kind of that's one example of about 30 different products I have in the financial sector in Canada, mainly Canada, but there's also a bunch in the US that we can do as well.
Well, I think it's amazing because what brought up the conversation, as I said, I had just processed, I had been at events, sold a bunch of books, processed a bunch, and in the typical 2.9 plus 30%. And, you realize that rates have come down, but those rates haven't changed. And you said, well, we got less. And I did some math and sent it to a friend, and the friend said, that's a lot. I mean, 0.8 is almost 1%. He's quick on the uptake that way. He figured that out. But I mean, saving nearly 1% on your sell-through is huge.
Yeah. 100%. And like the bigger the company, the bigger the savings. So like we've done like thousands of savings per month for like some of these bigger businesses, and that's only going to get bigger the bigger that you are. So
No, that's really cool. And then you're also matchmaking with some, podcast platform, CRM platforms, marketing support, a variety of different things. Why don't you touch on that a little bit and we'll see which direction we go. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. So the podcasting one is newer for me. I started podcasting, I don't know, a few months ago and connected with this really cool team that could essentially do the recording and then the producing of the podcasting, as well as the actual video for YouTube and shorts. And basically everything is AI done. I mean, I have the ability to go in and tweak what AI has completed, but on the platform that we use, we essentially record it, and then AI does the transcript, AI does the description, AI does all the shorts for Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing. And then I put it onto another software that does all of the podcasting platform, and it puts it out to the different kind of Spotify and Apple Podcasts and those sorts of places. So it's just, how do you create something and then streamline it so beautifully that it feels easy? It feels easy for someone who is a one-person entrepreneur or even a smaller business, that there's lots of people holding different hats. And it just means that the quicker you can get something done, the more time you will have to focus on other things. So it's really that streamlining game. And I mean, we've talked about the CRM as well that we both use, the Go High Level, which streamlines all of that even more. The fact you can have a calendar, and on that calendar put out to all of your different platforms, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, like all of them, and that you can schedule it all and see it all on the calendar, and you never actually have to go into YouTube or whatnot, because I don't want to. I don't want to go into YouTube. I want everything on one space and do it all from one platform. I don't want to go onto TikTok. I'm embarrassed that I have a TikTok account, but I do. And it's for the business. It's not actually, I would like to go onto that platform. I'm sure it's
Yeah. Well, I do not have one, nor will I, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But because I have all the other ones, and I utilize all the other ones. Yeah, I think the back to the podcast platform. From what I've seen of it, it's actually quite fascinating, the things that it can do, and there are varying levels and varying packages that are available with that product. Correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. So the podcasting package can include the CRM, like we were talking about. It can include the ability to resell it as well, if you are interested in offsetting your costs by selling it to other people who have podcasts or would like to get into podcasting. Because once you're in the podcasting world, you get to know all the podcasters. And if you can connect them with a better system, then why not? So it's really an interesting world getting into that. And then there's also the option of sales training for yourself or for reselling the podcast. And it's just, it feels like they've thought about everything that can support businesses in that world of branding and marketing. And it feels like a one-stop shop. So for me, as someone who wants to be a one-stop shop, it was a perfect group for me to partner with and get a whole bunch of amazing high-end resources under my belt.
Just from what I've seen of it so far, and I'm going to examine it more as we go along, I think it makes a ton of sense to aggregate the actions all in one place, if you can do that, especially if it can cut up a lot of different things. Right now, there's a lot of piecemeal opportunities out there. Yeah. And the challenge is you're paying multiple monthlies and you're doing all sorts of different things. And you're trying to, baling wire and duct tape them together and do all that stuff. So, I mean, I think some of these super platforms that have greater capability are well worth exploring and examining from that side. I'm not using them at this point, thinking about it, going to take closer looks at it. because I think it has some pretty good merit, and you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I
That's
didn't
it.
know about it until you and I met, and we started talking about it. I went, man, this is pretty cool. What the heck she know I don't know? That's not right. And then the same thing with GHL. I mean, I think Go High Level is, I'm phenomenally impressed
Yeah.
by both the function of what they create in the way they create it. They have a desire to consolidate all the freestanding pieces into one piece of software and integrate it all and make it work pretty seamlessly. It's pretty phenomenal if you think about it.
Very, very phenomenal. And I'm still learning. Like, it's been fun revamping my website and getting everything in the Go High Level account and learning forms and funnels. And through this group, there's someone who's been helping me and training me on it and walking me through everything. And it blows my mind what's possible and also accessible. I've never been someone who's made these things, and I now know how to after like an hour training session. I'm like, great, I can build forms and funnels and let's go. Might have to rewatch the recording a few times, but I get it. I can do it.
That's cool. So, how did you get here?
Great story. My ex and I built a tiny home on wheels many years ago. And then the farm that it was on was being sold. So we decided to go to Thunder Bay and sell our tiny home on wheels. And the people who gave us the financing to be able to sell it was Canadian Financial, who I am partnered with as my financial brokerage. So they found out I was pretty cool and offered me a partnership to connect their products with different businesses. And so I left a plumbing apprenticeship, which I was in. I technically am still signed up as long as I pay my union dues, but fourth year plumbing apprenticeship got put on the back burner, and a world of computers and businesses and learning and many different things that were new and huge learning jumps for me. Really fun and scary to own your own business, but I've no regret. It has been an amazing ride, and I've met so many great people, especially since starting podcasting. It brought me from someone who was outreaching mainly through connections and cold calling and stuff like that to having people I work with who really know and value who I am and what I offer. And then they're very excited to connect me with other people that they have in their wheelhouse.
No, it's very cool. Um, I mean, I think everybody comes from a fourth year apprentice in plumbing to computer and podcasting. That's just a normal track, for people. I mean, I can't imagine you think that's unique by any stretch. So, no, I think it's very cool. What got you down that path to begin with?
The
Let's go
plumbing.
way back. Yeah.
For going way back, after high school, I didn't know entirely what I wanted to do. So I spent about 7 years doing the only thing I wanted to do was travel. So I've been to 20 countries. The large majority of those I volunteered in. When I was 14 until just before COVID, I went to Honduras pretty much every single year, working up in the mountains and small communities and mainly building schools, kindergartens, that sort of thing. Basically, whatever the communities put a proposal in to our local partner organization saying that they were wanting built. So that is probably how I got to plumbing, and knowing that I loved working with my hands and working with people. Turned out the people in plumbing weren't really the people I wanted to work with, but that's another story. Um, but yeah, those communities and that connection and working with people, I've done that in Guatemala, Belize. I worked in children's homes, India, 3.5 months, children's home of 150 kids. So it was really those experiences in that 7 years. Those are the things I love doing. It was connecting with people. It was going and learning about different cultures and ways of living and ways of being, basically I lived in those things I didn't know world, and just learned organically on the ground. And for me, volunteering was a way to do that, because I really got into the culture instead of seeing it from a tourist outside perspective.
That's
And I
so.
guess
What's the greatest lesson you learned from all that?
that money does not make people rich, experiences do.
Nice. I
Yeah.
guess we can end this right now. I mean, no, I think that's very wise. You know, the um, being a professional speaker and trainer and the various things that I've been blessed to be able to do. You know, there are periods of time where you do phenomenally well, and you never think that's going to end by the way it ends. I mean, it's not the way it works, and but you realize that it's the longevity and the being able to be good with people and good to people and do a lot of different things. For me, I wrote my mission statement 20 some years ago now, you know, to create a community of 1 million or more, maximizing them spiritually, financially, personally, and professionally,
Yeah.
creating enough influence to cause over $100 million in charitable giving, and positively impacting 1 billion or more lives on the planet. And that's never changed, other than maybe the middle one has now been up from $100 million in charitable giving to 1 billion.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, with inflation, I mean, it's got to go up. But the need is so much greater today to create that much influence. And so the drive to make ridiculous amounts of money is not a personal drive, it's a purposeful drive
Yes.
to serve more people and to do more things.
Yeah.
And I think the one advantage we have in this day and age is things like this, being able to jump on, do a podcast, distribute it around the world, talk to people. You know, next weekend, geez, it's next weekend already. Holy cow. We're going to do a worldwide global simulcast
Wow.
in 34 languages over 48 hours. 48 hours it's going to be like the telethon. I mean,
Yeah.
except that we're not doing anything except educating. But literally, we're going to do a worldwide global simulcast in 34 languages. Now, I know one, and I almost use it okay most of the time. But literally, we will have live on the fly translation into 34 other languages. Phenomenal to think of. It's never been done. So very exciting. I was lining up some speakers for it this morning over in Ireland because as the world shifts. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that, but I think it's cool to understand that while the purpose goal might remain the same, the way to accomplish it modifies over time. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, it has to, because you don't know what you don't know. You know what you know now, and then you're going to learn something along the way, and it'll shift and it'll change, and you're going to find a different, potentially better, more impactful or faster way of doing it. It has to change. Nothing's ever going to stay the same. Someone said you're either growing or you're dead. Which do you want to be?
Yeah, the dead's not really a great option. Um, it doesn't work real well for you, and not a lot of people want to hang with you. You know, it's just not good. The so what's your goal? How long have you been in this portion of your endeavor?
So this portion, the support to thrive, where I've got more than just the financial resources, has been the start of this year. Financial has been 3 years. So I know those really well. I'm really solid on those. And it's been using the other resources that I offer and basically branching out and getting referrals and people like you who are like, I love Go High Level. I'm like, great. That gives me more incentive and more reference and people who love it. And it's just gathering those sorts of details and basically reviews from people of, I love this. And the fun part about podcasting as well for me is the intellectual resources where it's coaches and sales training. I actually have a podcast with those people. So anyone who's interested in coaching, they can go watch essentially a half an hour interview with that person and really get to know what their brand is, who they are, what they hold important. And then through that sort of mini interview can decide who they'd love to work with. Or maybe that's not who they click with, but it's a really way of it being personal and that people can connect to someone in a different way.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to. It's always fun to learn. I don't care how much um, knowledge you have or wisdom or whatever you've gained through. The next experience could be the experience. You never know. So it's always fun to learn through more of that. So where do you see your business going from here?
So for me, it's going to become, I mean, with Go High Level, there's a lot of fun systems that me and our tech guy are putting into place. So I want to make it that it's really, really easy for people to come to this hub. They can learn, they can join a community, they can go on a podcast, and they can teach what they know. For me, that also means they get shorts that they can use for social media purposes. And it's really just creating this kind of like you, this connection, this authenticity. It's creating a hub, a network of people who want to be helping each other, want to be in this system where they're getting really good resources and doing really good things in the world.
Very cool. Who do you want to meet that you haven't met yet?
Who do I want to meet? I mean, I'm a Latin American girl. I love all of that. And the fact that business wise, we can now do things with massive Mexican communities. I want to meet huge business people in Mexico that are doing massive things because I love that community. I do all the Latin dances. There's something in me that comes alive in that sort of space. And it would be really fun to have people that I work with that are in Mexico doing, yeah, big business world.
That's cool. Um, Another thing I find out amazing. So after you dominate Canada, you
Yes.
absorb the United States completely and then totally crush Mexico. What's next?
What's next is I would like to go to the woods with people who need to escape. My best friend leads trips that go into the woods, and I would love to incorporate the business owners that need to go out and connect. They need support to thrive, and in a way that's not just in the business world. They need a safe place to go and disappear and take away their phones and teach them how to make fires if they don't know how to do that, and paddle off into the middle of nowhere with these two kick-ass women, potentially more people leading, but that depends on the group size. But these two people who are happy to just let whatever comes up in the space. They're happy to accommodate people if they need to sit in a hammock for the day, and just have this resource for people to go and escape. Maybe it's once a year, maybe it's twice a year, but just go disconnect from the craziness that business can sometimes be. So that's part of the vision. And maybe part of that is going to Honduras and leading trips again, because I that was partly what I did. Was I led the trips to Honduras. When they realized they couldn't get rid of me, they're like, okay, we'll give you a management position. So it was
Very
me
nice.
and three old gray-haired men, and I was like, I'm this little chipper young thing, and it worked beautifully. But there's something that people gain from those experiences that I haven't really seen people get anywhere else.
No, I agree with you. It was interesting as you were saying that. I think it's fascinating. Um, it's not uncommon for me to take one of the days of the weekend and just put my phone away and not touch it at all for over 24 hours. Oh my God, how can you do that? You can still live. Just let me, you can still breathe. The air still shows up. It's amazing. Um, but I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I think we need to get back into, I mean, my platform is really to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. And a big part of that is treating people the way they deserve to be treated, honoring them, honoring the world, honoring everything. And I think a big part of that is going off. I came from a generation that, we learned how to chop wood. We learned how to make fire. We learned how to wire electrical situations. I mean, it was just, we actually worked on our own cars, God forbid. Now it's like a jet, it's like, how the heck do you even open this thing up? But I think that there's something about that, being able to work with your hands, start a fire, go out into the woods. And I'm not suggesting I've got a great desire to go sleep on the ground anymore. Glamping, maybe, could maybe find something like that. Actually, I got a buddy who's got a glamping tent. I might have to do that up in Arkansas. Anyway, but I think there is something to people knowing how to live on the land. Mm-hmm. And going to school in Iowa, the one thing I loved about the Iowa people is their work ethic. They work hard and they'd play hard, and they'd be up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, slopping the hogs, and out in the fields or doing whatever they needed to do. And they were plenty crazy at night too. They burned it at both ends. So I think that would be a cool thing to do. So once you got your business humming, you're leading retreats, then what the heck do you do?
I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, for me, it's the supporting to thrive. For me, it always comes back to that. My business name is very much a piece of my past. It's a piece of my future. It's really, what can I do to support you to thrive? Is it, for me, things I've found are as community, it's connection to nature, it's having enough resources that you're comfortable. It's those sorts of things. So for me, it's putting energy and time into, for me, I'd love it to be global. For me, I do have a connection with Latin America, and I've been given this kind of model that really works of partnering with local communities and asking the question, what do you need to thrive? It's not me saying, I know what you need. It's going in and asking people, asking communities, what do you need to thrive? And let me support you in making that happen. And for me, that's it. Like that whole thing, it's not me saying, I know what you need. It's me saying, what do you need? And let me support you in that.
That's awesome. So hard to believe we've run through our time. How do people get a hold of you and your awesomeness?
Many different ways. There's LinkedIn. There's now YouTube. If you go on my Alignable as well, there's a calendar link in Alignable as well as LinkedIn. Book into my calendar. Let's have a half an hour call and let's see how I can support you best.
Awesome. Any last words you want to leave with them? Some pearl of wisdom?
Pearl of wisdom. Go outside. Go outside, look at the trees, take a breath, and then come back renewed and energized and more powerful than before.
Spoken like a true Canadian. That's the way it works. Thank you for joining us, Megan. Greatly appreciate all your knowledge, wisdom, and you sharing with us.
Thank you for having me on, Scott.
Thank you all for joining us here at Champions of Inspiration. We'll see you again next week. God bless. Have a fabulous week. See you soon.